Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bo Patton. I'm the CEO of the Williamson County Association of Realtors. I'd like to welcome you tonight to Columbia State for our Franklin Board of Mayor and Alderman forum this evening. Those of you that were hoping to see Tom Lawrence, he is in the back of the room with us tonight. No pressure on me to help facilitate this, but I'll hope you're proud, Tom. I will be moderating tonight's candidates forum presented by the Williamson County Association of Realtors, Franklin Tomorrow, Williamson Inc., the Williamson County Association of Realtors, and the League of Women Voters, and the Williamson Herald, and of course our gracious partner in Columbia State, where we have hosted several of these forums over the last few years. Mr. Brown, we'll start with you. How has your background and community involvement prepared you to serve as an alderman?
Good evening. I'm Patrick Bagget, the 4th Ward Alderman. My wife grew up here, and I'm from Decatur, Alabama. I own a business here in Franklin. We moved 15 years ago, raising our 3 daughters here. I've served in multiple nonprofit roles, presidents of those organizations, some of the city's most noted nonprofits. And so I served before being elected, and I think that's critical. Franklin, Alderman Margaret Martin used to say, if you come to the city and you open your arms to Franklin and you engage, Franklin will open its arms to you. And that's what it did to me. And I think that is a critical piece of this election and one of the differentiators between me and my opponent. But we need someone who's going to identify and call out problems and have a tactical solution. Folks, we live in the most wonderful place in America. And don't forget that. And we have problems. I've dealt with them for 4 years. And some of them aren't solved with just a short snippet of anecdote. I would appreciate your vote and hear more about more of the tactical solutions to our problems. Thank you.
And finally, opening remarks from Mr. Rodney Taylor.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Rodney Taylor. I'm running for Alderman. Primarily because I believe Franklin deserves someone with thoughtful growth in mind, responsible spending, and leadership that actually will listen to the people. Like many of you, I love this community. I moved here because I loved it. But we all see the challenges that face us every day, the traffic that gets worse every year, the housing that is out of reach for many working families, and development decisions that seem to really favor profits over people. I'm running to bring common sense to city government. I want to make sure that growth pays its own way. I want to keep our neighborhoods safe and livable. I want to put residents first in every very decision that we make. In my judgment, this campaign is really not about politics, but it's about protecting what makes our community special while planning wisely for the future. I'd appreciate your vote.
How has your background and community involvement prepared you to serve as an alderman?
So first of all, this isn't at the core, this is not a political office. Yes, it's politics. This is about community service. That's what this is. This role is about serving the people in your ward and taking care of their problems, many of which we won't talk about tonight. And if we did, you'd all be probably not very interested in a lot of them. But that's what we do on a day-to-day basis. It's not just saying no or yes to a development or this or that. This is actually serving the community. And I've been doing that since I moved here. I've served as the president of the Franklin Tomorrow, served as the president of Franklin's Charge, served as president of the Franklin Noon Rotary Club, the longest serving civic organization. I've been a member of my church and engaged there, and worked with multiple nonprofits. And what people need to know is those relationships and contacts and just being able to bring people together and find a solution is actually more important than the up or down votes that we have, because instead of just responding to people responding to us with their problems, we're actively and proactively engaged in the community, and it takes that to really effectively lead.
And finally, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. Moved here about almost 20 years ago. I've been a member of Brookwood Baptist Church ever since then, very active there. But prior to that, in my professional career, I owned my own business. I was a CEO. I've traveled all over the country, literally all over the world. I've worked with developers. I've done feasibility analysis for developers. I've done market studies for cities, banks, developers. I've performed industrial site location studies. A lot of my work was in research and analysis, and I was really good at it. I learned very early on that the work that I did was very important because people put money on it, millions of dollars on what I had to say. And so I had to make sure that I knew what I was doing. I've been an aide to a state legislator. I've written position papers for congressmen and for the governor of the state of Florida. So I've been involved in a lot of things at city planning, comprehensive planning. So I think I have the background that fulfills all of this.
If elected, how will you model civility while working with citizens of Franklin whose concerns differ from yours?
First of all, it means speaking the truth. And I think that's the most important thing. When you want to engage in dialogue, now your truth and your opinion might be different, and that's okay. But start with, well, what are the facts? And I think over the last 4 years, I mean, frankly, I've probably made at least most of you all at some point in time, you've said, well, I don't necessarily agree with that, or I do agree with that. But what you always should know and do know, and this is what I've heard on the campaign trail, is that we know that you're doing what you think is best for the city, even though there's half the city that might think one way and the other half thinks the other way. And you, even though I don't land where you might land on an issue, that you know I'm doing it for the right reasons, and that there is still a half of the other city that might think differently than you. And civility is based on empathy and putting yourselves in someone else's shoes. And if you enter any kind of conversation and you can't put yourselves in the other person's shoes that you disagree with, there's going to be incivility, period. And so we have to have leaders that know how to do that and do it effectively.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor.
One of the things I respected so much about Charlie Kirk was that he allowed people to disagree with him, and he never, ever put them down. I think that calls for a lot of respect on the part of us as leaders. It kind of follows the maxim, you can disagree without being disagreeable. And that's the philosophy that I would live by as a leader in this community. We can disagree without being disagreeable because I will respect you regardless of what your opinion may be, even if it is opposed to mine.
What is your philosophy of healthy and responsible growth for Franklin in terms of land use and population?
So philosophy on healthy and responsible growth. Number one is that development needs to pay its own way as much as feasibly possible. And that's why we raised impact fees, over 300% on roads and hundreds of percents on the other sewer, water, and parklands. That means that when anything that new comes forward, that those developments are paying for arterial and collector roads. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that everybody in the room needs to realize that y'all living in a house, and we're all living in one. And mine might have been built in 1917, and Mr. Taylor's might have been built 5 years ago, but we're all here, and we're all giving back to the community. Villainizing those that are coming here is not good, but also shutting the door and slamming the door is not good either. And so my approach from the start has been not to go to the extreme and have a moratorium, but to start and raise impact fees and develop our comprehensive plan as we did 2 years ago. And that will lead to smarter growth and infrastructure.
Mr. Taylor.
Well, I've repeated this over and over and over again, and it has to do with planned growth. If you do not plan your growth, you're going to grow unrestrained, and that's where we stand right now. That's why our roads are inferior to the population that we have. We need a real comprehensive plan, a measurable, quantitative, comprehensive city plan. Now, we have a plan, and I can hear people saying, well, we got Envision Franklin. That's not a plan. Well, I guess of a sort it's a plan. But try to measure 3 years, 5 years, 10 years out. Envision Franklin. You can't do it. We ought to be able to know 3 or 5 years out where we're going to be, and then when we get there, we should be able to measure how we got there and how successful we were. we don't have that. Planned growth will help us do that and make Franklin a better place to live.
In terms of growth, how would you balance preserving neighborhood character and ensure infrastructure like parking, schools, roads, and utilities can handle the change?
Yeah, and we've done this. So and there's more to do. 4 years ago, when I ran, there was a land use character called conservation subdivision. 50% open space. You could build multiplexes and you could build single families only. That was the best conservation plan we had in Envision Franklin, which is our land use plan. And I ran to change that, and we did. And now, within our rural areas, we're saving up to 70% of the rural character by not allowing the developers to touch it. So it can only develop on 30% of the land. Imagine if someone told you you can't touch 30% of your property or 70% of your property. That's a big deal. That's a major change. Other in that land use plan, we did 60% as you get closer to the city. So that's the first thing. I talked about impact fees in my last statement, and that is critical. We have this tool in Franklin that is delivering over $100 million for roads in our capital plan. And if you stop development in a moratorium, as others would like to do, you're going to have to find that $100 million somewhere else. And guess where that's going to come from? It's going to come from the current resident's pocketbook, and I'm not willing to gamble with it.
Mr. Taylor.
Impact studies are really important, and impact fees are really important. We are, and I applaud the current alderman for increasing impact fees, but they still do not pay the entire cost of putting in all of this infrastructure. If that were the case, Columbia Avenue wouldn't look like it does today, or McHatcher along at the intersection of Columbia and all along there from there to Lewisburg Pike wouldn't look like that now. The fact is, the impact fees do not pay adequately. I think they should pay 100% of whatever the cost might be of roads that affect that particular development, and we're not doing that. So while I applaud them for increasing those fees, we need to get more out of the developers to take care of the infrastructure that is already behind the population we have now, and then we can begin to grow again in that planned way by having a comprehensive plan in place.
We will start this question with you, Mr. Taylor. How important is preserving open space in Franklin, and would you support expanding trails and greenways throughout the city?
Absolutely. Enough said. I think I love bike trails. I love walking trails. One of the things that I have liked about Franklin has been the areas of walking in many of the subdivisions where they have been placed as a part of the development of that subdivision. We need more of that. We can use more of that. And I'm certainly for setting aside areas of public land, or even if we have to purchase private land to do it, to have more parks and places where people can enjoy their families and have family time together. I think that's very, very important for all of us as citizens, whether we are the youngest child on a playground or the oldest person around trying to walk in the afternoon. We just need more of that. And I applaud the aldermen for doing what they've done so far, but we just need more of that. And I think we can do that even with budget restraints.
Mr. Bagget.
My very first job when I was in high school was at the City of Decatur, Alabama Parks and Recreation. So you've hit on a very meaningful part, and I think it's been reflected in the work that I've done. First of all, we've reclaimed what the American Battlefield Trust president and CEO said just last week. Nowhere else in America is doing what we're doing in Franklin, Tennessee as far as battlefield reclamation. It's not happening. And they stood on this ground that we just reclaimed that I helped negotiate and said, and gave us no one else in America doing it like we're doing it. Second, Creekside. We put our money where our mouth is and preserved 48-ish acres and an antebellum home. Second, Roper's Knob. I saw an opportunity, saw 75 acres that we owned already with the state on top of the hill, and how can we get our people to it? Well, found 15 acres and we acquired that, and now there will be public access. If there's one issue that my opponent and I agree wholeheartedly on is this, and I've got a rap sheet of preservation accomplishments that I think I'll keep doing if you reelect me again.
What are your priorities when assessing whether a property in the urban growth boundary should be annexed into city limits?
Well, this is the thing, and I think on annexations, we've had about 358 acres that were annexed. Most of them, the individual ones, were for 2-acre lots or farmland. There was one development, Poplar Farms, that was for development. Everything else has been for just regular requests. Now, here's the thing. People don't, you make it sound like we're out there trying to gobble up land within the UGB. We can't do that at the city. The property owner, there's one person that has a voice whether or not want to be annexed. And it's not BOMA. It's the individual property owner. So if that property owner comes to us and says they would like to be annexed, at that point, we have to do what Alderman Brown and others have said, which is a full plan of services. And I'm good with having a third party do a review of the cost of services and have that, make sure that that's firmed up so that there is public buy-in to the numbers. I'm fine with that, because I think that's what we've been doing. But at some point when you're listening and leading, you have to adjust. And I think if that is what is required to get the public to understand that we are doing these cost of service analysis, which we already are doing, there needs to be some more communication on that clearly. But we're not gobbling up and annexing. It's not possible.
Mr. Taylor.
Franklin was founded in 1799 as an agricultural culture. It today is the 7th largest city in the state of Tennessee. It has now become an urban metropolis. I want to preserve our agricultural lands as much as we can. Now, if, as Mr. Bagget says, someone who owns property wants to be annexed, then the full complement of study has to be done. But I think we need to take into consideration a number of things. One, what do the neighbors think about that? The people who surround that, who are going to be affected by that. Number two, is it in a floodplain? Floodplains have everything in the world to do with other people's property, not just the property that's being annexed. So there are issues that need to be studied before that property can be fully annexed, and I think those need to be taken into consideration.
What outcomes do you hope to see from the Franklin Transit Master Plan process?
So this is although I'm not running against Ms. Watkins, this is a difference. The question is, what do you support in it? It's easy to identify problems, but I've been on the Franklin Transit Authority for the last 4 years, and we're doing this study because myself and Chairman Schroer saw the problems in transit and saw that it was underutilized and saw that maybe we can have transit that solves actual problems that we're facing. And so instead of saying, the sky is falling on transit, we have gone out and we've found dollars from the Federal Transit Authority that are paying for it, underwritten by them, and we are engaging the community. I wonder how many people up here at this table have met and engaged in that master planning process and given them productive feedback. Can we have a show of hands? Who is engaged up here in that process? Take time and engage in this citizenry and in this process, and then your vision will come to life.
Mr. Taylor.
Well, this particular question is addressed directly by my strategies on traffic congestion. Just let me see if I can get through them in 1 minute. Number one, smarter infrastructure investments. We prioritize intersection improvements, better traffic signal timing, and so forth. Second, pursue alternative funding sources for our roads and services. Think out of the box. Number three, public transit options. We need to expand reliable transit connections so people have alternatives to driving. Number four, active transportation. Invest in sidewalks, more bike lanes. We talked about that a little earlier. Safe crossings. Number five, technology and innovation. Smart traffic management. There are systems that provide smart traffic management, ride-sharing partnerships, all of these. Number six, regional coordination. We can work with our surrounding communities and transportation agencies to ensure that our total road network and our transit services keep pace with our regional growth.
Many families, first-time home buyers, and people hoping to live near where they work are being priced out of the market. What specific policies would you support or oppose in our city to allow for missing workforce or middle housing?
So this is where the moratorium and the stop growth now really hits you square in the face, because when you do that policy, you're going to raise costs of housing. And so what we have been doing is listening to the public, and what they have been saying is housing costs are going up, traffic's bad, and we've reduced developments. Even though this board has reduced it by 50%, that stuff is still happening. You know, less than 1,000 people are living under rooftops that this board has approved. So all the blame on our development approvals is really, it really is shirking the issue, which is, number one, we have to have more creative ways to get public-private partnerships with housing. We've done that. We've done over 500 units of apartments. We got to figure out how to have this missing middle. We did that with the Village Green, where we're allowing more flexibility in the 30% to build different types of houses. You can have connected townhomes and various things. So you have to get creative in our land use plan within that to incentivize this. There are other items out there that I'm interested in seeing, but to date, it is a really hard problem. It is hard to solve.
Mr. Taylor.
This is another one. I hate to read these things, but it's a strategy. These are the strategies that I put together, 5 of them that deal with workforce housing. Number 1, land use and zoning reform. That would include inclusionary zoning, so that we ask developers to set aside a certain percentage of their development for affordable workforce homes. And a part of that is adaptive reuse, where we could convert office buildings and strip malls and hotels into affordable housing where possible. Number 2, employer-assisted housing. We could partner with hospitals or schools or large employers to help subsidize housing for their employees. Number 3, strategic land use. We can identify surplus city-owned land for mixed income or workforce developments. Number 4, regional collaboration, working with neighboring towns and counties so that workforce housing isn't concentrated just in one area, and we could share the funding. And number 5, use deed restrictions or land trusts to ensure units remain affordable for decades and we avoid expiring affordability.
What do you see as the biggest challenge for the constituents in your specific ward?
Biggest challenge for my constituents, number 1, well, is roads. And primarily that's, I would say, because on the west side of town and through downtown. But here's what I've done. Number 1, Eddie Lane has been on our CIP project for, Alderman Peterson could probably answer that, but over 10 years as a possibility, never funded. Boyd Mill Pike. These are what I call legacy road projects. See, in my ward, we're not growing like the Southeast, okay? We have legacy road projects, and that is what, and so it makes hard to get around. The second thing is, and we have to fund those, in which we have in this new $300 million package of roads we just approved. Second is Matt Hatcher, Northwest, have been fighting like a broken record and been like a broken record on that BOMA, getting that other bridge done and funded by TDOT. But we can't do it without them saying yes. And we put up money, and I'm going to keep pressing, and they're going to, Matt Brown Steele and whoever else is up here that gets voted on, if I'm lucky to be voted, they're going to hear me keep pounding the pavement on Mac Hatcher Northwest Bridge. It is a huge priority, biggest issue facing Ward 4.
Mr. Taylor.
How do you run against somebody when you agree with them?
You don't.
Too bad. Too bad, Patrick.
That cat's out of the bag.
Too bad. Don't count that as a part of my minute,
No,
for heaven's sake.
Give him more.
But I agree. I agree with Patrick. I think roads are the biggest problem. Let me bring up one example. The new Mac Hatcher extension from Hillsborough Road out toward West Haven. It's a 2-lane road. It's a 2-lane road. I was talking with somebody earlier. It should have at least been 4 lanes. This is why I talk about planning so much. They're not planning for the future. They're planning for yesterday and today. We can't do that. We've got to plan for what we expect the future to bring, and we know that's going to grow. Why not go ahead and put the infrastructure in while we can? We don't do it.
So I think we need to begin to think out of the box when it comes to funding these projects, because I do believe that there are sources of funding that we have not tapped yet because we've not thought out of the box. We've just kind of stayed traditional.
This next question will go to you, Mr. Taylor, and then we'll move into our lightning round and final closing statements, because we do have a hard stop at 7. Again, Mr. Taylor, we'll start with you. If elected at the end of your term, how would you determine that your time in office was a success?
It's a good question, because a lot of times it's subjective. I would hope that I would be able to influence the board due to my years of experience and having worked with so many different disparate types of entities, that I would at least have the respect of the board to listen to what I have to say, and hopefully with facts in mind, be able to influence them to come to my side of the ledger. I guess the best way to answer that question is to say, I hope we can accomplish, if I've accomplished at least one or two of the objectives that I have set forth in my campaign, whether it be traffic, whether it be budget, whether it be a comprehensive plan, whatever it might be, I will feel like I have been a success.
You know, being the last answer, I have a little bit of time to reflect. And listen, being involved here in these national campaigns, I hope at the end of the next 4 years that I have been more of a unifier of this community. If I've been more of a unifier than a divider, and adding to what everyone is fed up with in politics right now, which is just, I call it my house, yeah. I'm just tired of the yeah. So if I can leave office and have been a unifier, that's first. Did we solve our complex problems or start? Are we safer? We haven't talked about public safety tonight. Endorsed by the firefighters, that's a critical foundational issue for the city government. In fact, it's number one. And then did I help guide our city in a direction that my 3 kids would want to come back to? And are they going to be proud of it? And every decision is focused around that. So unifier, and then is this the kind of place that my children would want to come back and live in? And if I can answer yes to those, I'll be happy.
Would you support the city funding a new parking garage downtown?
Yes, we're funding one right now.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Should Franklin spend city tax dollars to maintain, enhance, or improve state roads inside the city limits?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Good question.
Final answer, Mr. Brown?
Yes.
You want that to be your final answer?
No,
I will remind you all,
I thought maybe you just
one word.
decided. I gave you 2, but anyway, no.
What is the one word answer? What is the worst traffic problem within the city limits that needs to be addressed immediately?
State roads.
Mr. Taylor?
Synchronized traffic lights.
This can be a 15-second answer.
That was the first one.
If elected, what do you consider your most important task for the first 90 days?
My most important task is unifying with those that voted for my opponent and moving forward.
Mr. Taylor?
How can I beat that? We all want to be unified, and I think that would be a priority at the beginning.
We heard a lot about impact fees tonight. Impact fee alternative funding solutions. Mr. Taylor?
Taxes, that's all the alternative you have.
Well, I advocated for the hotel motel tax to go from 4 to 5%, so that's another alternative funding stream.
We will now begin our closing statements. We have exactly 5 minutes left.
If reelected, I'll do what I've done the last 4 years, and that's listen to the Ward 4 residents, learned about their issues and how I can help in my position, and then lead the board, mayor, and aldermen, along with that vision I have. Because we're a team, by the way. There's 8 of us, and none of us can do any of this by ourselves. It takes leading a group of people. You can have the best idea in the world, but if there's nobody else that wants to do it, it doesn't matter. So you have to be able to lead people together, and that's what I would like to do. You see, we've got plans in Franklin. We've got a land use plan, a transit master plan, a major thoroughfare plan, an integrated water resource plan. We got plans for plans. And I want to protect what we cherish. That's public safety, that's preservation, that's appropriate smart growth. And then continue planning and make our plans better, because that's what you do with a plan, is continue plan for what we need. And I ask for your vote.
Mr. Taylor.
I love Franklin, Tennessee. Don't you? I love this town. I didn't move here because it was just so appealing. To me, it was kind of like living in a Hallmark movie. And I like that. Your voice is not being heard. In many cases, your voice is not being heard. I want to hear your voice. I want to provide leadership and service to those in Ward 4. I'm not a politician. Aaron mentioned that a minute ago, but I'm not. I'm just a man who came off the streets deciding we got to do something about this. I will serve you with integrity. I will serve you with transparency. I will serve you with honesty. I plan to communicate with you. And I'm asking you for your vote so that together we can build a future that honors our past, that protects our present, and prepares us and the next generation for our future.